Hello everyone, I filmed this video literally the week after Labor Day, but then my life imploded and I had no time whatsoever, so this is going up now. So is this my magnum opus? No, but I wanted to not go literally an entire year without posting anything, so here you go. Thanks, love you, bye.
Hi, did I mean to make content while we were all stuck in our houses, like without being required to do anything? Yes. Did I do it? But I decided I needed to make a thing for me, exclusively for me. My target demographic is myself. And I also thought that perhaps I could save you and maybe some others sometime. So I have actually been planning on making some variation of this video since about 2017. But the original version of that video was really bad and also would have required a lot more editing than what this is going to be. So I'm not doing that. And also, I'm not going back and rewatching that video to figure out what I said originally, because I don't want to look at 17-year-old me's face. It's not that different, but I'm not looking at myself now, so. I have seen every single Harrison Ford movie, which is not a thing I'm necessarily proud of, nor is it a thing I'm necessarily ashamed of. It's just a thing I did, mostly in high school, but this list does go up to 2020, so. I'm also going to be ranking the videos F to S tier style. I didn't do, like, a split screen graphic. I may do a graphic in post. We'll see if I feel like I should do that or if I just get really, really lazy because I'm already having to do so much editing for school. So we're gonna start with F tier and work our way up. That's how these ranking videos go. Wow, very good job explaining. Also, a couple of rules and caveats for this list. I didn't include any TV shows, I didn't include any TV movies, and I also didn't include any movies that he didn't play a major role in. So, like, Anchorman 2 isn't on this list. Apocalypse Now isn't on this list. So those are not on here. Also, it's been a few years since I saw some of these. So these are not reviews by any means. These are not like well thought out analysis. This is not a video essay. This is just me saying I remember this movie being terrible or I don't remember this movie at all, which is most of C tier. I'm gonna spoil that for you. So at the very bottom of F tier, and the only movie on this entire list that I did not finish, Paranoia. Paranoia is just so bad. I don't remember anything about this movie except for the fact that there's a reason that Chris Hemsworth is the most famous of all the Hemsworths, and it's because he's the only one with any semblance of personality on screen. Liam Hemsworth is the most boring person ever. Harrison Ford's bald in this movie? Why is he bald? Whose creative decision was it to make Harrison Ford bald? That was such a bad idea. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. Like I said, I didn't finish this movie. So I can't give like a brutally honest, like, yeah, but like it was so bad that I didn't finish it. And there are really bad movies on this. So I know I said no bit parts, but this was technically important to the plot and I like to complain. So Rise of Skywalker is an F tier. What a bad movie. Like, I'm so interested in what happened behind the scenes with this movie because John Boyega has been actively defending J.J. Abrams. So much of what I hated in this movie was done in reshoots. Like, I want to know. John, please, do your tell-all. I'm begging you. John Boyega, please. Somebody who's an industry insider leak some info. I'm begging you. Oh. Rise of Skywalker, what a dumpster fire. Yeah. There's a lot of things that I hate about Rise of Skywalker, but the fact that they probably paid Harrison Ford more than my college tuition as a whole for a 5-minute scene. It probably wasn't even 5 minutes. Hope it bought you a nice new plane, Harrison, or something like that. I also can't believe they brought him back to redeem Kylo Ren in a scene that made no sense. Because, like, I get that it was supposed to be Leia, but it wasn't. It was Han. It was Han. Han is force sensitive. That's what I've learned. I think if they gave Harrison a lightsaber, he would have stayed. That's the tea. That's the tea. I think if they had made Han a Jedi, he would have stayed. Anyway, Rise of Skywalker sucks, but that's not a controversial opinion. I know, like, 2 people who actually liked it, so. Crossing over. This movie's a little bit different than, like, Paranoia or Rise of Skywalker, because it actually has, like, a political thing to say, but I'm not sure what the political statement is. Like, I saw this movie once in, like, 12th grade, and that's been 3 years ago now. I don't remember most of the movies I saw at that time period that are on this list that I didn't really care for. I remember this movie so vividly. It's so bad that I couldn't forget it. Like, it's so crowded. It wants to make some kind of statement on immigration, but the statement is not there because it's so crowded. There's so much going on. Like, let me explain to you what this movie should have been. This movie should have been the little Muslim girl who may or may not be sympathizing with terrorists and that whole story. Or it should have been Harrison Ford finding the kid whose mom got deported and trying to reunite him with his mother, but being unable to and having to basically adopt this kid. I don't care if that's not how the actual system works. That's what it should have been. Movies are not reality. They affect reality, which is why part of this movie pisses me off, is because it's so irresponsible. But it's not reality. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to have arcs that are narratively satisfying. And just this movie doesn't have those. And like, but like the actual movie is like, you've got that subplot with the little Muslim girl. Then you have freaking Australian immigrants, and I don't care about either of them because they're both terrible people. I don't care about whatever. There's like Asian people, but they're it's weird. It's a weird movie. Crossing Over is a very weird movie. I get the sentiment it was trying to go for, but it's bad. And the issue with movies like Crossing Over is that if you take these topics very seriously, it can go in one of 2 directions. It's either going to go in a direction that is beneficial and helpful and it teaches people and it raises awareness, or it's going to go in the complete opposite direction and it's just going to, trivialize it and make it awful and bad and people are not going to sympathize with it. One of 2 things will happen, and the second thing happened with this movie. I've talked for nearly 3 minutes solely about this movie, so I'm gonna stop. Firewall. So I remember absolutely nothing about this movie except for Harrison Ford and Paul Bettany having a semi-homoerotic fight scene that he talked about on Conan, and that it was bad. That's all I remember about this movie. The son had a peanut allergy. I don't remember this movie, but I remember it being bad, and that's why it's an F tier. Because there's a difference between I don't remember this movie and I don't remember this movie, but I do remember that it was bad. There's a big difference between those 2 things. There's a lot of stuff on this list that I don't really remember the plot of, but I didn't necessarily think it was a bad movie. This was a bad movie. Hollywood Homicide. Hollywood Homicide. In terms of bad movie, this one's probably like one of the worst, but on the other hand, like watching it for the first time is like shock therapy. It's like you're sitting there and things are happening. Like, I remember this movie. I've seen this movie once, several years ago now, and I remember it. Because it was just that out there and bizarre. There's like a cop selling real estate. There's a lot of cop movies on this list. Harrison Ford stopped doing cop. Granted, he hasn't done a cop movie since like the mid-2000s. I think he also realized that mayhaps we should stop romanticizing the police. Yeah. At one point, there's some pelvic thrusting at one-way glass. That's the main thing that stuck with me in this movie. Was the pelvic thrusting at one-way glass. Hollywood Homicide. It has pelvic thrusting at one-way glass. It's really bad. Don't watch it. Random Hearts. So this movie's a lot like Firewall in that I remember nothing about this movie except for that it was bad. His wife was cheating on the other lady's husband. Wait. His wife was cheating on him with the other lady's husband, and they both die in a plane crash. And at one point, Harrison Ford wears like a yellow shirt and is very sweaty, and he has that awful late 90s spiky hair. I hated that hair. The only worse haircut than that one is the one from Presumed Innocent when he was bald. Like, just let your hair be long. Just like, I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I think recently the best he's looked is when he's had the beard. No, like, that's all I remember. I just remember the premise. Like, I don't remember the ending, I don't remember what happens. It was bad, but I do remember it was bad. That's all I remember, though. And the last movie in F tier is Presumed Innocent. This is yet another movie I've only seen the one time, but I remember it so vividly because I remember watching The Fugitive before this movie and thinking, that was a good movie, but I wish it was more morally ambiguous. And then I was given Presumed Innocent, which is basically The Fugitive if The Fugitive were more morally ambiguous. And it's really, really bad. Because his name's like Rozak. It's a horrible, awful name, but anyway. Rusty Savage's character is so confused because you don't want to sympathize with him because he like sexually harasses his coworker and cheats on his wife and is generally a bad person, which is fine. There are plenty of good movies that have main characters who are awful people, but you understand their motivations. You're sympathetic to their motivations. But also a good filmmaker is not going to make you sympathize with those characters. They're not going to make you be like, don't you feel bad for them? Because when they do that, it ends up just feeling really, really flat, especially when you don't give them at least like, oh, their dad was abusive. Like, thank you, Kylo Ren. That's not even canon. That's not even canon. People act like that's canon. It's not even canon. But anyway, like, he does all this stuff, and he's a terrible person. But I think this movie wins out as being, like, the movie that Harrison Ford cries the most in. So it feels a lot like they're trying to make you feel bad for that character when there is no reason to feel bad for him. Other than that he's being falsely accused of murder, which, dude, you harassed your coworker. You cheated on your wife. I don't believe that relationship was completely consensual. Like, I don't feel bad for you. Like, objectively, I know that this movie is not F tier worthy. Like, the cinematography is okay, the acting's really good. It's just, I hate it. I hate it so much. Objectively, in my heart, this is F tier. So it's an F tier because this is my list, and I don't care what you think. D tier. So I'm gonna start off D tier with a movie that I originally had in C tier, but then was like, no, this is D tier. It's Call of the Wild. This was actually the last movie I ever saw in theaters before the world exploded. Could have been Jojo Rabbit. I was gonna go see Jojo Rabbit literally like the Monday after I saw this movie, but then I didn't because I got busy. So the last movie I saw in theaters, and maybe the only movie I saw in theaters in 2020, we'll see, was Call of the Wild. I hate that. I genuinely hate that for me. It's not that this movie's like bad. It's just middling. Like, I think it has like a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes, which feels fair. Like, honestly, I probably should put this in C tier. I'm just mad that this was the last movie that I saw in theaters. I am still mad about that. Because, like, it's fine. It's a sad dog movie where very few dogs actually die, which is really uncommon. But, yeah. I really don't enjoy seeing Harrison Ford die in movies, and 85% of why this is in D tier is because it made me watch Harrison Ford die in a theater for the second time, and I'm mad about it. I'm real mad about it. Also, the CGI dog. I didn't hate the CGI dog too much. My thing with the CGI dog was they could have easily used a real dog for like pickup shots and then used a CGI dog to fill in, or done like they did with Birds of Prey and have like a stand-in dog that they CGI over. I don't understand why we needed a Cirque du Soleil man. And also the CGI in this movie is not great. On the dog, at least, it looks like it's from a video game. And there's genuinely good CGI that's decades older than this. It's just, I don't know. I know this movie's not that bad. It's fine. It's fine, but I have a lot of negative feelings tied towards it. Secret Life of Pets 2. I watched this movie alone in my dorm room and got really bad food poisoning immediately afterwards, so I don't know what that says about this movie. It's better than the first one because there's significantly less Kevin Hart in it, and there are significantly fewer poop jokes as a result. Harrison Ford's the best part of the movie. That's not me being biased. I watched someone else's video. I don't know how to say that guy's name. I'll put it up on the screen and I'll put up a clip of the video. But he agreed with me. He agreed that Harrison Ford was the best part of this movie because he wasn't acting. He was just Harrison Ford talking into a microphone as a dog. I like the dog design. The dog designs are nice. Illumination is a weird studio to me, and I could do like a whole video about like how children's animation in the West has been shaped by Illumination at this point, because like they're not horrible movies, they're just not good either. Also, Remy the rat is a dog now, and I don't know how to feel about that. Also, when I think of Patton Oswalt, I think both of Ratatouille and the fact that he was married to the woman who wrote I'll Be Gone in the Dark, who passed away like literally right before they figured out who the Golden State Killer was, which is very, very sad and tragic. Anyways, that was a bummer note to end on. Extraordinary Measures. I'm gonna be real, I don't remember this movie exists. I put it in D tier because I don't have bad memories of it. I don't have good memories of it. I remember absolutely nothing about this film, except for Harrison Ford had a truck, and there was a goldfish. There was a goldfish. There was definitely a goldfish. Extraordinary Measures. There was definitely a goldfish. 6 Days, 7 Nights. Now this movie gave me the unbridled joy that is Harrison Ford's "your ass is too flat and your tits are too small" speech. But this movie's also terrible. Like, it has funny moments. I remember laughing really hard at the lady in the plane on like Xanax or whatever, but it's not good. It's not worth watching. If you want to watch a Harrison Ford chick flick, there are infinitely better Harrison Ford chick flicks on this list. And he looks better in all of those, including the ones that were made where he's not the love interest, he's just in it. The Devil's Own. That was a really horrible Irish accent. Oh my god. So I literally rewatched this movie last night, and I literally, after the confirmation scene, I completely zoned out. I don't remember a single thing that happens other than that a bunch of people die. It's literally all I remember, and like someone breaks into their house. It's a movie. It's certainly a movie. I'm not gonna comment on the political aspect of it because I'm a stupid American and I don't know anything about Ireland's politics or the IRA or whatever. I can usually safely assume that if the British are involved, they're usually the jerks in the situation, because when are the British? Never jerks. But, whatever. Also, I don't know, maybe my Irish accent might be better than Brad Pitt's, because Brad Pitt's Irish accent is very much akin to, like, the "it's Tuesday, isn't it?" memes, but for Irish people. It's not a good Irish accent. Hanover Street. So this is a movie that maybe if I had seen it more recently, I would put it in C tier, but literally the only thing I remember about this movie is that for some reason, the music video that my brain makes up for My Chemical Romance's "I Don't Love You" is based on this movie. Why is that? Who knows? I know this was a very good movie if you're, like, really thirsty. Because I very frequently see screen caps from this movie as like Harrison Ford thirst trap stuff. So, I mean, if you're in for that, I do remember that the plot is tangential. It's like about an American soldier in World War II who falls in love with a woman who doesn't even tell her name. Who doesn't even tell him her name until like 45 minutes into the movie, but they've like slept together like 10 times. Like, I'm not here to judge you, but that is a little sketched, my dude. That's a little sketch. But anyway, him and her husband end up having to go on a mission together, and he chooses to save him, and then he leaves and he goes back to America, and he's like, think of me every time you drink tea, which is the only part of this movie that I remember, is that ending scene. Anyway. D. Into Navarone. Or from Navarone? What is it? Hang on. It's Force 10 from Navarone, okay. So, again, this is a movie I have no memories of, except for I think I have a screenshot saved on my old personal file from my school computer in high school, where I screenshotted Harrison Ford just taking a nap in the dirt, because I thought that was really funny. I also think I watched this movie mostly in my online classes, where I was very tired because it was like first thing in the morning. But yeah, this is just a generic World War II movie. I couldn't even be, like, a couple of these I looked up the plot synopsis. I couldn't even be asked to look up the plot synopsis. I don't remember it actively being bad, so I feel bad putting it in F tier. But I don't remember it being good either. So, D tier. I have no recollection of ever watching this movie. Last up in D tier we have Heroes, which actually came out the same year as A New Hope. Like, this movie has like very bad tone problems. That's the only thing I remember about this movie, because the big twist ending, spoilers for a movie that's over 40 years old, but the big twist ending for this movie is that the guy they were all going to see originally is dead, because they're all like traumatized Vietnam vets. But like, the movie's also about them going to start a worm farm, which I think around the time I saw this movie, the O worm was really big, so I just thought anything to do with worms was very funny. To be fair, worms are blessed, beautiful creatures that God put on this earth for a very important reason, and I love them. But yeah, O worm. Like, it's good. There's some like real good thirst scenes in this. Again, if I'm ranking these based on how thirsty you are, like, this movie's probably like at least A tier. But like, it's not a good movie. Also, apparently Carry On My Wayward Son was in the promotion for this movie, but I only associate that song with Supernatural. And I don't know. My mom associates it with this movie. I associate it with Supernatural. And to be honest with you, I don't know which one's worse. C tier. C stands for couldn't remember this movie, but I don't remember hating it. So right at the bottom of C tier is Frisco Kid. I actually really like this movie. I actually own this movie because my mom wanted to watch it and we couldn't find it anywhere. And it was like $5, so we just picked it up. And it's not that funny. Again, excellent thirst material. This movie walked so Brokeback Mountain could run. But it's Gene Wilder and Harrison Ford as the cowboy going to San Francisco. Like, if you're gonna watch a Harrison Ford cowboy movie, there are much better Harrison Ford cowboy movies. And if you're gonna watch a Gene Wilder being Jewish movie, there are much better Gene Wilder being Jewish movies. But like, at the end of the day, like, I have a fondness for this movie. This movie it's cute. The C stands for cute. Frantic. So let me first of all say, I do not support Roman Polanski. Some people are capable of separating the art from the artist, and I'm capable of doing that to some extent. But not when the person who made the movie is still a living child rapist. Can I say that on YouTube? I don't think I can say that on YouTube. Oh, whatever, I'm not monetized anyway. I don't get enough views to monetize my video. I make content for me, and only for me. The lady who runs YouTube, Mrs. YouTube, she can fist fight me in a parking lot. Yeah, Roman Polanski sucks, but this movie is actually pretty good. I do like the like cinematography. This was actually the start of the like Harrison Ford, my wife, my kids movie. It's okay. C tier. It's okay. Yeah, I have no further thoughts on Frantic. Other than there's a scene where Harrison Ford's literally just naked. That's the thing that I took away from this movie. I don't. Regarding Henry. So I actually watched this the same weekend I watched that god awful 90 Minutes in Heaven movie with Hayden Christensen. This is better than that. It's about a lawyer who gets shot in the head and becomes a better person because he loses his memory. And it's okay. It feels like a very high budget Lifetime movie. I would be remiss not to mention that J.J. Abrams wrote this movie. I think this was actually one of the first movies he ever wrote. He's in the movie. I think he gives Harrison Ford some Ritz crackers. Good for you, J.J. Yeah. It's a Lifetime movie. If you like Lifetime movies, it's a Lifetime movie. I'm just gonna end all of these segments with me throwing my hands up and just repeating the same phrase over and over again, because that's comedy. I didn't script this video, and I think you can tell. Clear and present danger. Now, I think the prevailing opinion on this movie is that this is the better of the two Jack Ryan movies that Harrison Ford was in. Incorrect. The first one's the best one because it has, like, the family and, like, I get the dynamic more. I forget everything about this movie. It was okay. They go to South America. Willem Dafoe's in it. That's literally all I remember, is that they go to South America and Willem Dafoe is in it. And I think James Earl Jones dies. I think that's literally it. Maybe he doesn't die. Maybe he just has cancer. I can't remember. But it was certainly a movie I watched once and then never again. Sabrina. So this is a remake of an Audrey Hepburn movie from the 1950s. I have never seen the Audrey Hepburn version. I've only seen this version. And I actually kind of like this version. This version's kind of like one of those movies I throw on when I'm like in the mood to watch something that will require zero brain power but won't rile me up like an action movie. This is like a good, like, I'm awake at 3 a.m. and can't sleep movie. Yeah, it's nice. I like Harrison Ford's glasses in this movie. I think he looks pretty good. It's basically just Cinderella, but like set in the 90s. But not like every other 90s and early 2000s Cinderella story that exists, because there's a bunch of those. It's just a movie about a girl, like she falls in love with the younger brother, but ending up with Harrison Ford's character. It's cute. It's fine. It's okay. I still want a little Eiffel Tower paperweight. Also, like, I've seen stills of Audrey Hepburn in this movie, and literally Audrey Hepburn looks the same when she's ugly Sabrina and when she's hot. At least they made Julia Ormond actually kind of frumpy. Like, underneath the hair and the clothes, she's still hot, but, like, it is a testament to the fact that how you dress and how you do your hair and makeup does legitimately affect how attractive people perceive you, which, whether or not that's fair, is a whole different debate. But hey, I can at least appreciate that they made her ugly. K-19, The Widowmaker. As previously established, C stands for can't remember it. I put this one in C tier because this has generally favorable reviews. I don't remember hating it. The only thing I remember about this movie is that they put Harrison Ford in age makeup. The dialogue set about 10 years after the original story, and Harrison Ford 10 years down the line in real life looked younger than Harrison Ford in aging prosthetics supposedly 10 years down the line. That, and there was a scene with some like weird rat twitching, or maybe I'm getting that mixed up with, like, the rat got radiation poisoning. He had a pet rat and it got radiation poisoning. But that also happens in Raiders, but the rat doesn't get radiation poisoning. It's just like, oh, the Ark! That was me when I went to Disney World and they still had the Ark of the Covenant in the lobby of that one ride that doesn't exist anymore. I was like, oh, the Ark! Gotta twitch. yeah. It sure is a movie. This is one of the only movies where I can say Harrison's performance legitimately made me go, what? Because Harrison Ford's not an accent person. Never has been, never will be. And he does a Russian accent in this movie. It's really bad. I love him, but it's really bad. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. C also stands for Crystal Skull. So I know I made an entire video ragging on this movie. And for good reason. It's not a good movie. But I put it in C tier because I don't like it. But it also feels wrong to put it really, really low. A lot of people, I've learned from that video and talking to other people, a lot of people really like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I'm like, you do you. Like I just didn't care for it. The plots are muddled. It's kind of a confusing hot mess. I have an entire video. I don't know which side it'll be on, but if you care enough, you can watch that video. That video is not like my end-all be-all opinion of this movie. I think this movie has some charming moments. It could be a lot worse. Also, I think it's really, really sad that for the most part, this is the best movie Harrison Ford made in the 2000s. Like, yikes. But it's fine. It's fine. It's not evil. Paranoia is evil. Morning Glory. So I think this is like... Okay, this is not my favorite Harrison Ford chick flick, but it's kind of up there. I love this movie. I relate very much to Rachel McAdams' character in that I, too, am borderline insane. It's funny. It's charming. It's on Netflix now. If you've never seen it, go watch it. It's cute. It's cute. C stands for cute. C stands for Crystal Skull, can't remember, and cute. So I thought the guy in this movie for years was Chris Pratt. It's not Chris Pratt, it's some other dude. Because then I remembered, oh wait, this was like 2010. Chris Pratt was still fat then. I'm like, who is this man? Who is this man? And also, I genuinely believe that if I met Harrison Ford, it would go very similarly to the elevator scene in this movie. Which is why I can legally never meet Harrison Ford. I made that law, not him. Because I don't want to embarrass myself. Alright, go watch Morning Glory. It's on Netflix. Cowboys and aliens. So now, C not only stands for cute Crystal Skull and can't remember, it also stands for Cowboys and Aliens. This movie, in my heart, in my soul, is S tier. I love this movie. This is my favorite bad movie. Like, I know most people's is like, The Room, or like, this is my favorite bad movie. It's so dumb. But it's also beautiful. Like, usually bad movies, like, have really bad cinematography. Like, this movie is cohesive. This movie is a functional movie. It's a movie about cowboys getting abducted by aliens and the other cowboys going to save the cowboys that got abducted by aliens. And it's played as straight as if it were, like, True Grit or The Hateful Eight or something like that. It is brilliant. Jon Favreau is my hero. I'm kind of done with white men in Hollywood right now. Like, we don't need any more movies from white men. Society has progressed past the need for movies from white men. But Jon Favreau can stay. Jon Favreau can keep making stuff. Just between this, the Iron Man movies, and The Mandalorian, Jon Favreau is going to be in my good graces probably forever, unless this video ages horribly because he did something really horrible and terrible and illegal. But, like, for the time being, Jon Favreau is eternally in my good graces. I love it. I love it. There's horses. Love the horses. I'm actually scared of horses. Hosier wrote in the woods somewhere about a horse, that he had a dream about a horse eating children or something, and big mood. Like, it's dumb. It's dumb. Like, I totally understand that this movie is, like, realistically a C tier. But in terms of personal enjoyment, oh, S tier all the way, baby. This is the best Harrison Ford movie. Ender's Game. So we're going from one alien movie to the next one. I never read the book. And I know Orson Scott Card's a douchebag. But, like, I don't hate this movie. Like, the acting's good. Rico from iCarly is there for some reason. Why is Rico from iCarly? Rico from Hannah Montana. I haven't watched any of these shows in 10 years, so I guess that would explain about whatever. some reason, again, I've never read the book. I think this movie is a good example of why I'm glad Netflix exists and why more books, especially long book series and longer books, are getting Netflix series and like HBO shows than movie adaptations. Because like they talked about doing an Umbrella Academy movie adaptation. That thing would have sucked because Umbrella Academy's so sprawling. Like, thank God that movie never got made because we got the amazing Netflix show out of it. I think we could have gotten a really good Netflix show out of this particular movie. I feel like Harrison Ford didn't really want to be there, though. This was kind of Harrison Ford at his most phoning it in. I do remember that. I love him, but sometimes I think he gets bored, which is fine. That's fair. I get bored too. But yeah, I would maybe recommend this for like the kid who plays Ender, and also Haley Steinfeld's in this movie. She's really good. But yeah, I maybe one day they'll turn this into a Netflix series. It'll probably happen after Orson Scott Card is either dead or has like dropped off the map, because I don't think people are gonna consume his stuff once they find out his crummy beliefs. But anyway, Ender's Game, C tier. I vaguely remember it. And at the end of C tier, we have Age of Adeline. Age of Adeline is certainly a movie where they play fast and loose with science, but literally everything I've ever written that involves science plays fast and loose with science, so props to them. I think this is a really interesting story. Is it great? No, it's fine. It's fine. I do think it's a little weird that Harrison Ford's character is so okay with the fact that the woman he nearly proposed to is now banging his son. If I were him, I would have reacted to that a little bit more vitriolically, but you know, that happens at like the beginning of the third act. They didn't exactly have time. Like, it's okay. It's okay. It's about a woman who doesn't age because she got in some sort of weird car accident, and then she gets in basically the same car accident again, and it does it. Yeah, I think this movie would have been much better if they had just had it be a linear story, and she has the accident, and things are happening. She falls in love with Harrison Ford's character, and she has to watch him grow old while she's normal. I think that would have been more compelling, but it's not bad. C tier. C stands for It's Okay. B tier. So the tiers only get shorter from here. We're going to start off with Force Awakens. Once upon a time, I think this movie would have been an A or even S tier for me, but because so much of this movie was counting on the sequels being good, it doesn't really work. That being said, this movie is basically A New Hope, but with better pacing. Better pacing, but the characters weren't as good, and also the follow-up sucked. So B tier. I don't hate this movie. I can't bring myself to hate this movie. This is the movie that got me into Star Wars, and then by default, other Harrison Ford movies. So I can't stay too mad at it. I still really love Finn. I still obviously really love BB-8. Hello. Yep, there's lipstick on him now. But the sequel trilogy is a grand disappointment, and I'm not gonna say I'm never gonna do a video on the sequels, but if I do, it'll be a very long time from now, because I don't feel like sitting and staring at that footage, or even really rewatching the sequel trilogy. You know, like, that being said, like, The Force Awakens really and truly just, as a standalone movie, it's fine. It's a perfectly good movie. The sequel trilogy, ideally, is just Force Awakens, and then the two movies I made up in my head. So, B tier. What Lies Beneath. So this movie is like the only horror thriller movie I think Harrison Ford's ever done. I think he did a TV one that was like a blatant Exorcist ripoff, but again, we're not doing TV movies. So this is the only one I know of. It's got Michelle Pfeiffer in it, and I am eternally, especially in old promotional stills for this movie, getting Michelle Pfeiffer and Calista Flockhart mixed up. Because they look virtually identical. Calista Flockhart maybe looks a little bit different and is a little bit thinner, but that's about it. But yeah, this movie's great. I like this movie a lot. It's very Hitchcock. This was apparently a very high grossing movie. I think this was like the movie of like 2000's summer. Don't remember. I was a year old. But I'll take their word for it. It's nice. It's a good movie. I really enjoy seeing Harrison Ford play villain characters. I wish he would do it again. He's going to be in an adaptation of The Staircase, where he's kind of an antagonist character in that, I think. I'm assuming he's playing the guy who's accused of killing his wife again. But, you know, it's a little different. I really want to see him play, like, an Albert Fish serial killer. That would be fun. Not like a direct, like, biopic about Albert Fish, but something similar. So What Lies Beneath, I give it a 4 spooky ghost girls in the water out of 5. Patriot Games. This one ranks significantly higher because I actually remember the plot of this movie. Patriot Games is a lot more functional than the sequel because A, Jack Ryan is in the entire book that the movie's based off of, whereas I do believe he's not. He comes in at like the beginning of the 3rd act for Clear and Present Danger in the original book, but they put Harrison Ford in there because he's the one who makes money. This movie just is more grounded because you care about his family being safe, you care about that, you care about his relationship with James Earl Jones's character. Like there's much better stakes in this movie. And Sean Bean dies because that's what Sean Bean does. Good for him. Seen being the dying queen. But yeah, Patriot Games is pretty good. I give it 4 dead Sean Beans out of 5. Apparently, I am ranking these things now. Everything in B tier gets a 4 out of 5. Apparently. Working Girl. Very, very fun movie. This is the best Harrison Ford chick flick, hands down. It's funny. It's a little raunchy. It's the only liar revealed plot I've ever had any interest in. I just enjoy it. I like Sigourney Weaver a lot. I like most things with Sigourney Weaver in it. And it's like, and if out of all of Harrison Ford's characters, if you're gonna date one of them, you're gonna want to date Jack Traynor because he's the only one who's probably not gonna get you killed. I'm not gonna explain the plot of Working Girl. Just watch the Bob's Burgers episode where they make a Working Girl Die Hard musical. Temple of Doom. So this movie's like super racist, and I need to get that out of the way. This movie's super racist. That being said, it's in B tier solely because Harrison Ford takes his shirt off and they rub him down with oil. That is literally all it takes to get into my good graces. That, and I do like Short Round a lot. Yes, I know he falls into some negative Asian stereotypes that were especially prevalent in the 80s. But I really do like that character. I would love to see a spin-off series for Indiana Jones where maybe he has some sort of, I don't know, protege. I don't know, like some girl who goes off and does like his heavy lifting for him. It's on Disney Plus, and Short Rounds in it, you know, I could write it or be in it or both. Lucasfilm, call me. I know I just spent a lot of time complaining about Rise of Skywalker, but call me. I like Temple of Doom. Like, it's not good, but it's not bad either. It's 4 hearts being ripped out of your chest out of 5. I will just say, though, if a country won't let you film in their country because they think your script is too racist, maybe your script's a little bit too racist. And the last of B tier is American Graffiti. So, American Graffiti is a movie that I've seen 3 or 4 times now, but I literally can recall nothing that happened in it except for there's a race at the very end and Harrison Ford sings a wonderful little song. It has no plot. There is no plot to this movie, but at the same time it does evoke a very nostalgic feeling to me. Like, I have been in a car with my friends, not recently, because COVID, but I have been in high school in a car with my friends just driving around and doing whatever tickled our fancy. I'm never gonna say that again. That sounds really creepy and disturbing. Just, like, it's a movie. It's a movie. If you've never seen it, you should. It was very important for both Harrison and George Lucas's career, because it was, like, the first big deal George Lucas movie, and it was the first time Harrison worked with George, and that's how they met. So, yeah. American Graffiti. B tier. It gets 4 classic cars out of 5. I don't know how I'm gonna make any of these graphics, but we'll find out. A tier. Do not ask me what that was. Starting off A tier, we have A Conversation. I've only ever seen this movie the one time, and I watched it in the middle of the night, so it kind of went over my head. But I love evil gay cookie baking Harrison Ford. I love that for him. It's a really powerful movie about surveillance states and the fact that people can tap your phone lines and the government is listening to you through Siri and Alexa and Google and literally everything else. The government's listening to you, like, even if you don't have any of that, they're still listening to you. They're tapping your phones because they want to know why you don't have a Google Home. I don't remember much about this movie other than I did like it, and I know that it's kind of like an iconic movie, so I felt bad putting it any lower than A tier. Which, iconic movies mean absolutely nothing. I watched Rebel Without a Cause and was bored out of my mind. So, like, just because a movie's iconic, it means absolutely nothing about whether or not it's good. But I do remember liking this movie, and I do remember really liking the themes and the message. So, The Conversation goes in A tier. It gets... I'm not keeping up the ranking thing. I'm done. Blade Runner. So, I'm gonna upset some people by putting Blade Runner here. And there's only one tier left. And I can tell you that Blade Runner 2049 is not an A tier. So, I'm gonna upset some people. Some people don't like 2049 anymore. I personally do. That's just me, though. Blade Runner is still a really incredible, important movie. It didn't create cyberpunk, but it definitely popularized it. It is very deserving of its cult classic status. It's a good movie. Would recommend it. If you've never seen it, go watch it. I think it was on Netflix for a while. It may not be anymore. But, like, I literally found it at my Walmart for like $2. So also, yet again, this is another case where I liked the movie a lot more than the book. I've read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and the book, much like The Mosquito Coast, is very cluttered, but Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is only like 200 pages, whereas The Mosquito Coast is like 600. So anyway. Return of the Jedi. So this is an A tier, and the other 2 original trilogy movies are in S tier. Go ahead and spoil that for you. Return of the Jedi has a really bad tone problem. We keep going back and forth between Luke's emotional trauma corner and Han and Leia's funny walk adventure, and it just doesn't work. That being said, I still really like this movie. I think it was a solid ending for the original trilogy, and probably a solid ending for the franchise as a whole, but then we got Rise of Skywalker, which is so much better. Yeah, bury Anakin's lightsaber on Tatooine where he was a slave. That totally makes sense. I'm not even a prequel stan, and that pisses me off. Like, I don't care about Anakin. I kind of actually like the visual of Leia holding Anakin's Force Ghost back as Leia buries the lightsaber. Like, let her do it. But yeah, no. It's good though. I like it. I do like the Ewoks. I think they're out of place tonally, but I do like the Ewoks. I think Wicket's a good dog name. I might name my dog Wicket one day, but yeah. Don't like Slave Leia. Do like post-Carbonite Han. Riddle me that, Batman. Witness. So this is Harrison Ford's only Academy Award nominated role, and he was robbed. I'm just kidding. I've never seen Kiss of the Spider-Woman, which is what he lost for. No clue whether or not he was actually robbed, but he is really good in this movie. This movie also is one of my favorite things thematically because it is the only movie I've ever seen, and I'm sure there's other movies that have done this and other shows, but it doesn't, when it explores pacifism versus violence and the use of violence, it doesn't side with either side. I think it takes a very complex look at how the world is. It doesn't say we should all be pacifists, nor does it say we should all just play into violence. I think the ultimate goal of the movie is to say sometimes you have to be both. Sometimes one or the other will work. because the ultimate climax of the movie is solved by both pacifism and violence. Like, it's a very nice story in terms of a lot. I've said nice a lot. It's nice. It's nice. I like it. The main story is about Harrison Ford falling in love with an Amish woman, played by Kelly McGillis. It has that barn dance scene that just really gets me going. I like it. It's a good movie. I recommend it. If you've never seen it, check it out. Witness. Also, fun fact, the little boy in Witness is the patient from the Welcome to the Black Parade music video. I didn't know that until like 3 weeks ago. So, The Fugitive. So, The Fugitive is, I think, one of Harrison Ford's most iconic movies outside of Star Wars and Indiana Jones. If you've seen a Harrison Ford movie that's not either of those, you've seen The Fugitive. It's great. It's iconic. It's fun. It's based off of a TV series that's actually based off of a real murder story. There's a really great BuzzFeed Unsolved episode on it. Tommy Lee Jones's character is really good. Iconic for Tommy Lee Jones. I think he won an Oscar for it, and good for him. Also, just like everything about how this movie was made is like really technically impressive. All the stunts, great movie, A+ movie. Watch The Fugitive if you haven't. It's very good. And at the top of A tier, we have 42, which is about Jackie Robinson. Harrison Ford plays Branch Rickey, who is the man who hired Jackie Robinson to be on the Brooklyn Dodgers, and Harrison Ford kills in this role. He is incredible. I genuinely believe both him and Chadwick Boseman, who played Jackie Robinson, were completely and utterly snubbed for this movie at the Academy Awards. They both are so incredible. Harrison had like an entire like physical transformation. Like they did stuff to his hair. He wore like a fat suit. Like he looks unrecognizable. And he kills it. He's so good. And it would also feel really wrong of me to not mention Chadwick Boseman's passing, considering at the time of filming this, he passed away less than a week ago, I think. Chadwick, I was introduced to him through this movie well before Black Panther came out, and I admire the things he has done for the film industry so much. He was so much more than Black Panther, but Black Panther was so important in terms of how Hollywood's going to make movies from here on out, because that movie did so well, and it was all black, and it was the first time that black kids got to see a black superhero be authentically black, and that was so important to him, and I'm glad that he fought for that, because that is very important, because black people don't have to ascribe to a white supremacist ideal in order to be taken seriously. They are allowed to be unapologetically black while still being smart and talented and being the Black Panther. So thank you, Chadwick. May he rest in peace and in power, and I hope that people are giving his family the privacy and time and respect that they deserve in order to mourn. And if you've never seen this movie, go see it. It's especially if you've only ever seen Chadwick in Black Panther. He's great in that movie, but he's really great in this. So 42, A tier, 5 out of 5. It's S tier time, baby. Like I said before, these get shorter and shorter. There's literally 5 movies in S tier, and I'm gonna go through them really quick because they're all pretty iconic. A New Hope. First Star Wars movie, kind of a little dumpy. The structure's a little weird, but the characters are just so brilliant. And I may do a video at some point about why the original trilogy works while the sequel doesn't, and just talk mostly about the original trilogy. But I think the main reason the original trilogy works so well is because the characters were so well defined, and they really just had such lightning in a bottle casting. It worked so well. This movie was just iconic, and it is one of those iconic movies that actually ends up being worth the hype. It's very important to film history, and it's also just a good movie. I really like it. Empire Strikes Back. This is the best Star Wars movie, hands down. Like, I don't think that's a controversial opinion, although apparently it is. Some people don't like this movie. I love it. I think it's got the best pacing, it's got the best characterization, it's got the best stakes. It works. It's got the best costume design. All of the costumes in Empire are incredible. Anyway, I really love this movie. Just really incredible movie. iconic for a reason. I love it, and it knows. Last Crusade. This movie's kind of... This is not my favorite Indiana Jones movie, but it is kind of the perfect Indiana Jones movie. Because not only does it give Indiana some personal stakes that are kind of lacking in Raiders, it helps flesh out his character, his backstory. It's got a really fun MacGuffin, good villain. Just really iconic, really fun. Love Sean Connery in this movie. Love everyone in this movie. This movie is just really good. This movie was really well casted, really well acted. Last Crusade. I swear I'm not going faster on these just because I'm tired of filming, although I definitely am. I really just genuinely, like, it's hard to talk about things that are really, really good for long periods of time as compared to bitching. Like, it's just, I'm sorry. Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is tied for my favorite movie of all time. I really like it. It's really perfectly paced. It's so good. I kind of went into why Raiders works so well in that Crystal Skull video, but I'll kind of recap it here. It's just, the pacing's brilliant. The characters know what they're there for, they know what purpose they serve, and they come in and out flawlessly without ever really overstaying their welcome. The scenes never overstay their welcome. You totally understand the emotionality behind everything going on in the movie. It's not as complex as Last Crusade is, but I almost like the fact that Raiders is so simple more, because I feel like action movies, especially the ones I grew up with more, that were more recent, try to complicate things. They try to add in extra stuff, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think there's just something really refreshing, even though it is a 40-year-old movie at this point almost. There's something just really refreshing about a movie that is what it is, it does what it wants to do, and then it gets out. And I really like that. And also tied for my favorite movie of all time is Blade Runner 2049. I did an entire video on this movie too. Again, I don't know which side it will be on. It's just great. It's really beautiful. I love Kay as a character. I think Kay is one of my favorite characters of all time. I really like Joy a lot. I think the themes and the questions it asks about humanity hit home even more than the original, because we're living in sort of an era where a lot of the stuff in Blade Runner is possible. And I think it asks a lot of questions about what it means to be human. How will we categorize things as human or unhuman? How are we going to move forward with society? What do we do about oppressive power structures? It took the original Blade Runner and shifted the perspective from the person, from an audience avatar who was on the outside to an audience avatar who's on the inside. And I think that really resonated with me, and I think that resonated with quite a few people compared to the original. I love this movie. It's beautiful, both aesthetically and in terms of its storytelling. Just, if you've never seen it, especially if you've seen the original but haven't seen 2049, do it. It's so worth it. And that's it. I don't normally do outros. Normally I just kind of end it like you would almost end a regular essay, but thank you for watching. My next video I'm planning on is a true video essay. We'll see if it gets made. We'll see if it doesn't. We'll just see how this semester goes for me. But yeah, I apologize for being away for 9 months. I know the 20 people who usually watch my videos were definitely missing me. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.